So in this case, we need, like the bones, as we learned before, we need to know where is dorsal, where is ventral, where is lateral, where is medial. So rostral and cauda is very clear. Rostral where we have the cornea, cauda where we have all muscles and the nerve, the optic nerve. So what else? Let's look where the dorsal, where the ventral surface of this eye. In this case, you have to go back and look at the optic nerve, And here, let me just remind you that the optic nerve leaves the eye pole cauda ventrally, that means the surface next to the optic nerve at the ventral surface. So cauda ventrally doesn't leave the eyeball from the center here, cauda ventrally. That means this is the ventral surface and this is the dorsal surface. Let's just move it this way here again. Okay, again, this is the dorsal and here we have the ventral surface. Dorsal ventral, we just need now to know where is the medial surface and the lateral surface. In this case, please look at the the medial and the lateral angle of the eye. You will find that the medial angle of the eye is more rounded, comparing to the lateral one. The lateral one is more sharp, sharper than the medial one. So once we know that this is dorsal, ventral because of the optic nerve, this is medial surface because of the rounded angle, medial angle of the eye, and this is the lateral. That means the medial surface should faces the nose or should be toward the midline. No, this is the midline of the head in this case, and in this case we are talking about the right eye. Again, this is dorsal, put it up, ventral down, and after that put the medial surface of the eye toward the midline, toward the nose, and you will know if this is the right or the left eye. In this case, of course, we cannot put the eye on the left side because the medial surface in this case will be away from the nose or from the midline. It has to be on the right side, and in this case we have the right eye. Thank you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the eye transversally like this and show you the internal structures. As I said before, in this case we have to cut all three layers of the eyeball, including the fibrous layer, which we can see outside, the vascular layer, and finally the internal layer or the retina. So my colleague will help me to hold this one here, and exactly like this. I will cut it completely in this way here. Of course, what we can see is the fluid located inside the eye. I will cut it completely. You allow me here. Okay. And now, this is the two halves of the eye. We can see the fluid, which here on the table. It's more gelatin, as you can see here. The retina is a very, very thin, layer, that lined all, the internal surface of the eyeball. This is the retina where we have the nerve cell bodies, the nerve cell bodies send, the axons to the what's called the blind spot, is the origin of the optic nerve. Let me just clean this area a little bit. The dark area or the dark layer, which we can see there, represents actually the vascular layer or the middle layer. So this is the vascular layer. Here we can see the other two parts of the vascular layer, including the ciliary body and the iris. I will go through them. The final and the external layer, the white colored structure here, is the sclera, which is part of the fibrous layer or the external layer of the eyeball. Normally in the animals in this area and in some other animals like ox, horse, sheep, whatever, They or carnivores, of course, they have what's called the tabetum lucidum here, to reflect the light entering the eye here. In this half, the rostral half of the eye, we can see the lens located exactly in the middle, fixed in this position by what's called the suspensory ligaments coming from the ciliary processes from the ciliary body. Um, exactly, let me just take it out. I will take it out. This is the lens, this is the lens which has, two convex surfaces. It should be transparent, as you can see here. Let me just put it to the side like this. And here I will just wash this one and they will come to you. Okay, here, as you can see, we have, I hope it's clear, this area here presents the ciliary body. Ciliary body is part of the vascular layer of the eyeball. We can also, I don't know if it's clear for you, here we can see the processes of the ciliary body. There, in the front area there, we can see the iris. The iris, which forms in the middle here, what's called the pupil, of course, yeah, where we can see our hand, through it. So the pupil from front, from rostral, is covered with the cornea, which is transparent, to allow the light to go through it, through the pupil to the retina finally. Again, this is the iris here, is the most rostral located part of the vascular layer. I just took me a little bit here. The iris is that one which has a lot of pigmented cells, to give the color of the eye. This is the iris. This is the iris to form the pupil. If we move it just like this, I can see my finger through it. Yeah, it's not a fresh eye. That's why it's not, transparent completely. Okay, here we can see part of the sclera and the cornea. The area between the sclera up to the cornea here is called the limbus. This is the limbus. Again, this is the medial surface, medial angle of the eye, and this is the lateral angle of the eye. After we remove the retina, let me just put it like this. Here we can see the exit area of the optic nerve, or what's called the blind spot or blind area here, where all axons from the retina, from the nerve cells coming from the retina, move here and form finally the optic nerve. Again, the optic nerve, as you can see here, this is exactly the caudal half of the eyeball. The optic nerve doesn't leave the eyeball from the center, but it leaves the eyeball ventrally. That means this is the ventral surface of the eye.